Started. All right, let me share my screen. All right, can everyone see our beautiful new logo?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to start from the very beginning. I know some of you know me, and some of you maybe I'm a new face, but my name is Bahia Simons Lane. I am the Executive Director of International Student Conferences, and I've been in this role about almost 4 years now. I come from a Japan background. I taught English in Japan with the JET program, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. And now with International Student Conferences, I have the opportunity to work with students not only from Japan, but also the United States, Korea, and China. So to tell you a little bit about the organization and about our programs, we've been around a long time, since 1934. We started with the Japan America Student Conference way back in 1934. And it was a group of Japanese students who were worried about the breakdown in bilateral relations, who had this incredible idea to start a student conference. And in that first year, they actually got on a boat, came to the United States, and recruited other college students to participate in the very first year of the program. Of course, they had hoped that there would be better mutual understanding and friendship maybe more quickly than it happened, because we did have World War II. But thankfully, after that period, some alumni restarted the program. And since then, JASC has been held 77 times in its 91-year history. It was such a great model that our organization, which was originally founded in Washington, D.C. in 1979, then as the Japan America Student Conference, rebranded as International Student Conferences, and launched the Korea America Student Conference in 2008. And then our most recent addition is the China America Student Conference in 2020. What all the programs share in common is their structure and this belief that students are the next generation of leaders who are going to make the world a better place, and that students are not just passive observers of diplomacy, but active participants. So what is different about our programs is that they are 100% student-run and student-led. At the end of each summer's conference, the students elect from the delegation a group of cross-cultural peers that will then plan the conferences over the next year. The students get access to a lot of different things that they wouldn't normally get access to, off-the-record dialogues, diplomats, policymakers, CEOs, people from many, many different fields. It's very interdisciplinary. They live with their international counterparts for about 3 weeks, traveling typically to 3 different cities. They conduct original research with their peers from the partner countries. And this helps them build a network that spans across the Pacific and lifelong friendships. And because it is student-run and student-led, they are engaging with the most pressing issues in the students' minds, right? And their points of views. So they're engaging in US-Japan relations or US-China relations, but it's not us dictating as a adult or an organization what they should or should not study. That's one of our core philosophies, is that the students, they drive the show. So as I mentioned, our programs are 3 weeks. They're in person. They typically go across 3 different cities, sometimes 4. And we always recommend that when the sites are selected, which are also selected by the students, that they go to a mix of major cities and rural areas, whether that's in Japan or in the United States, so that the students can experience, very different aspects of the culture. We have what we call roundtables, which are small binational groups, small research cohorts that explore key global issues. And the topics of the roundtables change each year. They're selected by the students and led by the students. And they're made up of half American students and half students from the partner country. The executive committee is our leadership group, the team of past delegates of students who design and implement the program with our oversight and support, of course. Each conference also has forums. We have a final forum at the end of the program, which is a public forum where the students present the research that they've done over that 3 weeks. And sometimes we also have site forums, 2 to 3 different ones where there's opportunities for the students to maybe present what they're working on so far or present on a micro project. We help the students set up access to, embassies, think tanks, governmental institutions, corporations, so they can really talk to people who are doing the kinds of things that these students hope they'll be doing in the future. And they can hear from real-time, business leaders, government leaders, academics who can really speak to and answer the questions that the students had. And then, in addition to research and fieldwork, they're living together. So there are cultural experiences, there are social experiences. And over the course of the 3 weeks, the students really get to know each other in a very deep way. So people often ask me, like, well, what do they actually do? There's a lot of different things that they do. I just pulled out some examples from JASC from the past 2 years. But this past year, which JASC took place, the Japan American Student Conference, JASC took place in Japan. They had the opportunity to go to the 2025 Osaka World Expo and do a joint program with the America Pavilion there. They experienced traditional tea ceremony. They had a homestay, a 2-day homestay in Kumamoto. They heard from Nagasaki A-bomb survivors and peace advocates during a mini peace program that they had. So it really changes every year, but this is just some examples of the kinds of things that the students engage in. Now, I want to look ahead to the programs that we have coming up next summer and just share a little bit about where each conference is going to go and some additional information. So JASC, we're going into the 78th year. Last year, JASC was held, or last summer, just a few months ago, JASC was held in Japan. We went to Kyoto, Osaka, Kumamoto, and Tokyo. But this coming summer, JASC will be in the United States, and we'll be going to San Francisco, Nashville, Tennessee, and ending in Washington, D.C. Applications are currently open. The applications close on December 28th. The cost of the program is $3,000 for the American delegates. This includes everything for 3 weeks: housing, meals, accommodation, cultural activities, flights, ground transportation, insurance, everything. This coming year, the roundtable topics, these are the 7 roundtable topics that the students have selected: international politics, innovation, media, environment and resources, arts, health, and civil. And so when the students apply, they are able to rank their preference of which roundtables they're most interested in, and they have a few essay questions related specifically to the roundtable topics. So when the students are selected, they are accepted into a specific roundtable, and we build these roundtable cohorts of students that we think will work well together. CASC is going into its 19th year. This past summer, they went actually to Seoul and Washington, D.C. But next summer, we're returning to a US-only model where they can dig a lot deeper into multiple cities in the United States. They have also selected San Francisco and Washington, D.C., but their middle site will be New Orleans, Louisiana. Applications are currently open and they close on December 31st. And for this program, the cost is $3,000 for international delegates. So those are those delegates who live in South Korea and would need to be flown to the United States for the program. And domestic delegates, it's $2,500. Again, that's all inclusive of all the programming and everything for 3 weeks. CASC 19 has 4 roundtables this year: navigating interdependence in international business and economics, technology and artificial intelligence, cultural diplomacy, art, media, and soft power, and energy policy and nuclear cooperation. And like with JASC, the applicants will have the chance to apply for a specific roundtable. CHASC, our China America Student Conference, is going into its 6th year. Last summer, this past summer, was the first time we were able to bring CHASC to China as a baby conference that started during COVID. We obviously didn't know COVID was going to happen. It took a little bit of time to get it off the ground, but after a few successful years in the United States, we were able to go to China. This coming summer, they're actually going to be going to both countries in the same year, thanks to some support that we were able to receive. And they're going to start in Washington, D.C., then go to Missoula, Montana. We're working with the Mansfield Center there, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Then to Kunming, China, and ending in Beijing. Applications are currently open, and they close on my wedding anniversary, January 3rd. So I'm not going to forget that date. So the cost of this program is $3,000 for delegates both in China and in the United States. And their roundtables, they have 3 roundtables this year: technology and innovation, intercultural communication, and rural areas in the environment. And they really picked these because they fit really well with the cities that they're going to. So they're going to kind of pair Missoula, Montana with Kunming, and they're going to pair Beijing with DC. So they can do some contrasting between contrasting, reflect on the 2 different countries. And then I wanted to just chat a little bit about what we kind of consider our approach and the student learning outcomes to these programs. So one, of course, I've already mentioned, is that it's student driven, right? That students are really empowered to design the program. They lead every aspect of the conference. They review they create the application. They review the applications. They interview the applicants. They select them. They choose the cities. They decide where they want to go. Who do they want to hear from? And of course, a lot of what my role is at ISC and our staff is supporting the students through this. So they can say, oh, we really want to do a program with the US Embassy in Tokyo. Can you help us, get the right connections and make that happen? And I also, we do set the budget, handle the contracts, the money stuff, make sure the insurance, the safety of the program. But other than that, it is completely driven by the students. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you that for this generation in particular, this is a very new experience for these students. They're very driven, but many of them still look to me and say, well, what should I do? And are surprised when I tell them it's their decision and it's up to them. But because of that, I really see quite a transformation in the students over the course of when they start at the beginning of the year, or the beginning of our program year, through the end of when they implement the conference. It's quite incredible. So we also have cross-cultural interchange, and we call it interchange, not exchange, because so often when you think of exchange, it's American students going to Japan or Chinese students coming to the US. But because our programs bring together a cohort that is half students from each country, and they're doing everything together over that 3-week period, we think that this is interchange. There's a lot of back and forth. The students are really able to get to know each other in a very, very deep way. And then a lot of the programming that we do is experiential learning. They do a collaborative research project. The organizers are getting hands-on training in project management. We have a range of workshops and seminars, but also, of course, lectures and maybe other, more kind of academic activities. And then global learning is really at the root of the program, because in these small binational groups, the roundtables are exploring these real world issues that affect not just the bilateral relationship, but also kind of affect the world as it is now. And they have to engage with each other to decide a research topic, a research question, and to decide what their project's going to look at and work on that project together throughout the course of the program. All right, so then lastly, I want to talk about, I think this is last, talk about funding. So I did mention the programs run $2,500 to $3,000, actually to $3,500 for JASC in a Japan year. And we do keep the programs as affordable as possible. Our actual cost per student ranges from $7,000 to $10,000, depending on the activities of that year, the number of students in the delegation, and so on. But we understand that some students still struggle with this fee. So one thing I ask of professors who are who are promoting this program is we seek help to provide equitable access. So we do have our own scholarships. We have the Plants a Diplomatic Tree Scholarship, which funds one student from each of the 3 programs each year. And we fundraise from alumni. We have to raise about $10,000 a year to fund that. And then we have a fellowship for JASC, thanks to a donation from Glenn and Sakie Fukushima. But that's only, 4 students that are being awarded. So a lot of students apply for funding directly from their university. They're able to get funding from their department. Sometimes universities offer kind of conference grants. And so as professors and you guys are in the position to maybe advise students on how they might be able to secure funding so that we can ensure that there's equitable access to these programs. All right, and we've come to the Q&A portion. So I'm gonna stop sharing so we can chat, and then I'm happy to answer, any questions that you have. And it's a small group, so feel free to just, unmute yourself and throw that question out there. And I'm actually gonna stop recording, so don't worry, you're